Hi everyone, welcome to our audience present here today during our meeting that will last about an hour. Just for the introductions, my name is Ivan. I am a project manager here at Monterrey, and today I will be the host of our Vue meeting. In the webinar today, we will go for a deep dive in Vue and describe to all of you how was the migration from Vue 2 to Vue 3 in one of our projects with our client Systems Engineering. Just to give you a bit of context, Systems Engineering is a Danish company based in Copenhagen that has a very specific software to help build a common language across engineering disciplines. This software applies to complex enterprises with complex solutions. And now, without further ado, a quick intro about our speakers today. From Montreal side, we have Mateusz Michałowski. He's a front-end engineer in our company and also the main responsible for leading the migration from Vue 2 to Vue 3 in the systems engineering application. And from systems engineering, we have Harald Hersted, product owner of the application and a mechanical engineer himself. Welcome, Harald. Welcome, Mateusz. And now, before we jump right into Vue, I would like to ask Harald if you could briefly describe the project for which Vue 3 migration was undertaken. So the mic is yours, Harald.
Thank you very much, Ivan. So I come from a Danish company, and we are mainly consultants in this company, systems engineering. But over time, we wanted to introduce a software which we have developed with Montreal for the past 4 years. So we are long-time collaborators. And basically, this software helps all these engineering disciplines work together. It requires a lot of stuff, and the software was developed from scratch together with Montreal. The project that we have is a project that we have developed together with Montreal, and now previously we came to the time where we have to migrate to Vue 3. And the project that we work with is essentially all the engineering disciplines, mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, they have to talk together somehow. Right now they don't. In most organizations we go out and visit. So what we deliver is a software solution where everyone can work together in the same structure, but in their own specific softwares, electrical diagram, 3D drawing tools, etc. So that's what we deliver. And it's mostly, the more complex of a system you have, the more you would like to talk to someone like us.
Yeah, thank you, Harald, for the introduction. And yeah, just to point out, systems engineering is one of our longest-standing projects at Montreal. So this was a really important project for us, the migration from Vue 2 to Vue 3. And I believe we can jump into the topic that concerns us today, Vue. So let's start with the reasons for the migration. Staying with you, Harald, what do you think motivated your organization to migrate from Vue 2 to Vue 3?
Well, we see it sort of this way, that at some point we have to migrate, right? Because we have to transition into the new versions. Otherwise, we're not supported. So we have to do this at some point. So why not do it now when we can decide? If there's any issue, then we can sort of postpone it a little longer. Basically, all the options are on our table if we decide to do it now. Whereas if we only do it when we have to do it and sort of our backs is against the wall, then we don't really have any decisioning power left. So that's why we decided to do it now. And additionally, there was a brief hole in our development, and sort of we just decided to allocate one of our resources, Mateusz, to start developing this, and then it's been sidelined ever since. So the reason is we don't want to have our backs against the wall, and we want to be able to make our own decisions, our wise decisions.
Definitely that. Thank you for the context, Harald. So now maybe let's jump a little bit into the more technical part. So, going to you, Mateusz, what technical limitations of Vue to were you trying to overcome through this migration?
Hey, what is worth to mention in general that systems engineering project is a big project, so we are heavily using TypeScript, and Vue 3 comes with super seamless support for the TypeScript, and this is something that is much better than it used to be in the Vue 2. So this is first of the actual points why it's actually beneficial for us to do it. Also, um, end of support, official support is also one of the major aspects. So yeah, with that, what we are trying to overcome is just being behind, actually, because we are already starting to see that basically shift to the new Vue 3 ecosystem when it comes to all the libraries on the market, etc. So everyone are just shifting there. So we don't want to stay behind. And it's obviously good to use the newest, best tools that are available. What is important is also that V3 introduces some updates when it comes to actual DOM render uh, mechanics. So we are looking forward to enhance our application when it comes to performance, which will be probably talked about later. Also, what is important when it comes to the project is that we are using heavily Vuetify, and for people who are following Vue ecosystem, knows that Vuetify is also rewritten like totally. Um, but it looks like it's much better now. We had a lot of edge cases that we were covering with our um, additional work that we did to maintain the Vuetify 2 code and to use all the components as we want to. And when it comes to Vuetify 3, we are not longer needed these. So maintenance aspect here is also important. Like it really enhances this aspect when it comes to Vuetify. Um, and yeah, general aspect of shift to the composition API, which allows us to reuse code even more. That will be something that will be also very beneficial, but it's work to be done later on. I think. What I think is also cool to see is that we can drop another dependency here. And I'm thinking about portals. We have now built-in teleport component in Vue 3, and systems engineering project is using a lot of portals. So, it's always good to use something that is native and is right when you need it, and you don't need to actually download additional packages, which makes eventual bundles smaller. So, yeah, that would be it.
Thank you very much, Mateus. Okay, and I believe that here today we might have also product owners and other roles that are not that technical. So we would like also to hear from the other side of the table, so from the business side. So Harald, in your opinion, how do these technical differences translate into tangible business benefits for companies that are adopting Vue 3, in your opinion?
Yeah, so a lot of the things that Mateusz already said, which is that if front end, from my perspective, if we can achieve more faster, then we're happy, and this is what we are resolving with Vue 3 instead of Vue 2. So this is what makes me happy, of course, as the client. And additionally, this was also an opportunity for us to go through every minute detail, everything on front end, and at least make sure that we were in control of everything that we have, because we have been developing for quite some time now, and there are always some things that are lacking a little bit, and we got to pick up on those and figure out, do we have to prioritize that now? Is that a real issue? It's not a real issue. So we got to go through the whole thing again. And we had to go through the whole thing again. It was sort of, we forced it on ourselves to make sure that we see all the small errors that we might have had, and we can correct them, or we can prioritize them from now on. So improve front-end development and debugging once more, very, very detailed. So I think business perspective, that's where we see big improvements. And then, because we are moving already, we don't have that issue of no support, and all these components are not working and all that stuff. So we sort of skip that because we're already moving. So we just see these two benefits at this point.
Okay, thank you very much, Harald. Okay, so now we have covered the reasons for migration. We will move then to the next step, which is the actual migration process itself. So we'll discuss a couple of topics about the migration process and how it looked like from our point of view, from the client point of view, from Montreal point of view. So as the first question or first topic to discuss, Mateusz, could you give us a few of the items that you had to take care when starting this migration process? So some of the topics that you had to cover when getting started with it.
Yeah, sure. Well, the process itself was split it into multiple steps to just allow us to progress in good tempo. So smaller steps that we took were just better. So I maybe just go through some bullet points from like our list of steps of actual migration. First of all, we obviously made some estimations and actual plans. So that would be the first step. But then we decided to use Vue 3 compatibility, which helped us to get rid of all compilers, build time errors. It helped us solve those most visible like for errors. Next, obviously, we had a lot of dependencies. So this is something that we also managed to do, is to update dependencies where it was possible and available at the time to move to the Vue 3. Important aspect is that what I mentioned, Vuetify 3 was the one that needs to be also updated, since it doesn't work on Vue 2. So we had to create some sort of mocks of Vuetify components to just keep going with the migration and still be able to use newest features of Vue 3 and gradually implement Vuetify 3 elements. And then next step would be just to adjust to all the Vue 3 breaking changes that that appeared. Next phase would be if when we have working application, we can start to move to Vuetify 3 components, and we also gradually do that. Step by step, one by one, component was moved to the being used as an actual Vuetify 3 component. And well, last but not least, and it's taking most of the time, to be honest, is the test feedback loop that we are currently in. So like Harald mentioned, whole app is being tested right now. So we have some sort of a backbashing session here, it's necessary to do that and to go through every single each case and option to check if it works, if it's doing its business logic properly or not. So that would be the process that we decided to go with.
Okay, thank you, Mateusz. Okay, we have heard about the process, but staying with you, Mateusz, so we would like to hear about some of the most crucial changes, or some of, if you can highlight out of those that you mentioned, the few key changes in Vue 3 that were pivotal for the migration process. So yeah, staying with you, Mateusz.
Well, obviously, all those breaking changes when it comes to Vue 3 versus Vue 2, that was quite a challenge, but Vue team prepared very well written migration guide, which is quite helpful. And it allows us to just move through the files and go with the updates. What is important here is also the Vuetify 3 migration guide that they also created. It's maybe a little less, full when it comes to the actual knowledge that it gives us, but it helps a lot to find ourselves in the new ecosystem. A lot of properties were just different. Vuetify 3 introduces a lot of breaking changes, probably even more than Vue 3. But when it comes to the end, currently it looks like they did a great job when it comes to actual components. They are working better, smoother in many places. What I mentioned earlier was some tests where we were using internal API of Vuetify, and right now we are not using it anymore. So probably in the future, breaking changes won't be such an issue when it comes to Vuetify, which is, as I think, a good thing. What is in general important for us, since we are using JSON API, we are seeing some different behavior of the computed properties and actual re-rendering cycle because of reactivity system. I mean, that's what we currently are thinking. So this is something that will also help us to create more robust and performant system. But now we've got to focus and understand how we can actually use all those tools that Vue 3 already gave us. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mateusz. Okay, until this point, we have heard as we have heard from Mateusz, the list of the most important changes, some more specific crucial changes that were elaborated in detail. And now we would like to hear also from the client point of view. So from your point of view, Harald, how did those changes impacted your project?
Okay, so let me just summarize it sort of how I saw it. We decided to move to Vue 3 based on actually Montreal had a previous talk about migration to Vue 3, and based on that, we decided to go in this direction. And what we did was sort of take it step by step, and we had the previous team member who's on paternity leave now. He started to make the outline of this transition. It took about a month, a little on and off. Easy side going quest, because we're not again backed up against the wall. We could sort of do it in our tempo. We look at the plan. We saw the plan together with you, and everything was like, all right, we can do this. The only thing that we had to decide was, do we want to do this migration sidelined with the current development, or do we sort of stop the current development and sort of can't progress because we have to move to Vue 3 right now? And this is the interesting question from our side. And because we had enough time, we decided to just keep developing what we already had, and then the Vue 3 was sidelined. And then every time we updated something in our system, well, then we had to update it in the Vue 3. So that's sort of the backside of the coin. But it's the decision that we decided to go with because it suited us the best, and because we had enough time. We have enough time. We are not blocked in any sense of this Vue 3 migration. So from our perspective, the way that we constantly have room in order to make the right decision and not rush something too much, this is the most important part. There are a lot of benefits from this, but for us, it's much more about being able to be agile. We are a company where agility is of essence. We have clients that can push us in a certain direction, and we have to adapt to that relatively fast. And that's why we need the agility. And when we do it this way, then we can do it in our tempo, but we will constantly progress against Vue 3, and now we are at the end of this migration. So I guess the impact is quite big because it's touching, and it's basically everything that's being touched based on this, and especially this Vuetify element has been a little bit of a pain in the ass, but it's a real life case from our perspective. It has not been completely smooth. It's not like a Hollywood story. It is definitely with some bumps on the way, but because we have done it the way we have, then the small bumps are not issues. We have the time to implement it correctly. So yeah, a big impact, but the way we have progressed it, that is the important part.
Yeah, thank you very much, Harald, for the input on your the client's point of view on this migration process overview. Okay, we have covered the points we had prepared for this area. So now we will move on to the cooperation and preparation. Here we want to speak a little bit more in detail. How did it look like from the team perspective? How we prepare for that? How the backlog, let's say, and the different items that needed to be taken care of were prepared. So the first one is for you, Harald. I just wanted to ask you in general if you could describe a little bit the collaboration between you/systems engineering and Mateusz during the migration.
Okay. Yeah, well, as I said, we were a little bit. We were working with Montreal and someone else than Mateusz before, so we had another developer who sort of outlined the project, and Montreal filled out this person's spot when this person was or is on paternity leave. So already there, we are quite satisfied with the swapping and being able to let's say do this very peacefully. We didn't have to, let's say, push Vue3 because one person was out of the team. Someone else could jump on board. Thank you very much for that, Mateusz. So that was the first, let's say, bump on the road, which is in essence wasn't that big. So the collaboration has just been continuous. Talk points, of course, we have dailies and all that, but continuously we talk about what's going on, how can we mitigate these risks, what should we do, and we do it based on the assessment in the beginning. And then now that we are at the end, the ending has been a lot of testing. So daily management and a lot of testing towards the end, and before that it's been a lot of preparation, develop based on the preparations and all the knowledge that we have. And I think that has been our collaboration so far.
Yeah, thank you for the good words, Harald. Okay, and now from your point of view, Mateusz, could you let us know a bit more of how this preparation process looked like in your end?
Well, like it was already mentioned, I was not the one who prepared the actual plan for the whole migration. Yet I am familiar with some aspects of that process. And I also already mentioned a couple of them, but there are a few like most important points in that. In general, obviously, what is important is that assess of the complexity of that migration, which was done by the previous developer, who created an actual plan for the whole migration. That helped us to just understand what is need to be done, and I think it's good to be done by someone who have already some experience in the project itself, in the domain, because it helps a lot to understand the complexity of the project or the components, how they are connected. So this is something that is very important to create it before actual start of the migration of the coding part. So the plan, so they going through the app and getting familiar with what would need to be done. Yeah. What is also important, and it was a part of an actual preparation process, is to allow us to be able to run application during the testing and day-to-day work on the application. And what was prepared is the sort of adapter, or should I say a series of adapters for the Vuetify components that allowed us to just use move forward with the migration without handling breaking changes right on the way. Otherwise, we would need to just go one by one and check if runtime is what is doing runtime. If components are failing or not. And those adapters helped us to just kind of mock components and use them. So this is important thing to be done. Yeah, when it comes to actual coordination efforts, I think that the element of that testing and feedback loop, this is something that is very, very crucial, especially since I'm kind of out of the project, because I wasn't in the project at the beginning, and I had to learn a lot of the product, and it was very, very important and helpful that we had that option to just have those conversations, have those tests, feedback, and yeah, this is also something that is very, very important, and good to have that in that whole process, I think.
Yep. Thank you very much, Mateusz, for the input on the preparation process. Okay. And before we switch to the next section, I see that there are a couple of questions on the chat. We will cover those at the end of the session. We'll have 10-15 minutes for the questions and answers. So yeah, don't worry, we will be answering your questions. And if you have any others, please feel free to pop them on the chat, and we will have a look into them at the end. Okay, moving on to some more challenging parts. So the challenges during the migration. Mateusz, could you share maybe a specific challenge that you faced during the migration and how you and the team, our front-end team, resolve it?
Yeah, well, we are still trying to resolve one of the most important aspects. We are experiencing sort of performance issues when it comes to the couple components. And we are investigating it. And like I mentioned, since we do have a lot of very deeply nested components, sorry, not components, but actual objects that we are observing. In Vue 3, it's not that efficient this way as we had it created it in the Vue 2. So this is quite a challenge that we are investigating and we are fixing right of the way. So there need to be some sort of a shift in our approach to the creating components and how to react on actual changes in the properties and how to just handle computed values, how to be mindful about it and use it well, so the performance would be even better than it was. So this is like the main actual interesting aspect of it. But when it comes to challenges, I do think that another one big challenge is a Vuetify update. Like I mentioned, there are a lot of breaking changes in between Vuetify 2 and Vuetify 3. And not all of them were transitioned to, not all properties, not all actual behaviors were transitioned to the Vuetify 3. So we had to just, improvise and do our own updates in there. So that was some sort of interesting challenge to conquer and to just go and fix it in many places. And yeah, if I think it might be all of that is coming to my mind, but in general, the transition to the Vue 3 and Vuetify 3 is focused probably on those details, because all of the migration guides that are provided by Vuetify 3 team and the Vue 3 team, these are great. These help a lot to just find all those aspects that needs to be updated right away, even if you're not completely familiar with any of it. You can actually go through that migration guide and help yourself to fix a lot of stuff right away. There are also helpful ASLint dependencies, rules that could also help with that. So yeah, all about those details at the end, to be honest. But I do think that it will help a lot in the future to make up performance. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mateusz. Okay, and the next one, I would like first to hear from your point of view, Harald, but also Mateusz can perhaps, after you add your comments, Mateusz can also add some notes to it. I would like to know a bit more about the strategies that you implemented to address the unexpected issues that arose during this migration process. So maybe first you, Harald, and then Mateusz, you can also collaborate.
Thank you. So we did experience a lot of things, a lot of smaller things that we sort of don't necessarily normally see or test. So from the issues that we saw, we found that we probably have to talk together with you guys at Montreal to figure out a solution for a better test setup on our front end side. So there was a lot of smaller things, and it takes a long time to find these minute details, but they matter, and we want to be able to make that transition very smooth for the user in the very end. So and from my understanding, again, I was introduced as a mechanical engineer, which is very true. I don't know how to develop myself, but we have been cursing a little bit over the Vuetify part a couple of times. I can't point out exactly what it is, but there has been some issues there with the migration on Vuetify. So a lot of testing, and it has been. I mean, it's not so bad that it's not good for something, because when you get to test all that much, you always find someone that you should have found anyway. So it is a nice opportunity that you get from having to test a lot. At least we had to test a lot. You could probably do it in other ways, but the way that we have set it up, we had to do a lot of testing, and yeah, so far we have actually found a lot of interesting things that we wouldn't have found if we had not done it this way. So we are seeing the positives from this additional time in testing. So that's how we address these issues, I think.
Yeah, thank you, Harald. And from your point of view, Mateusz, how did you manage those issues that were addressed to you while working on the migration from the client and in general?
Well, through the testing, actually, it might sound like an answer to everything, to be honest. But there are a lot of like new ground in here. Like the Vue 3 ecosystem is still like developing, so a lot of aspects are just we are first in many aspects, right? So not much help from the actual Stack Overflow or whatever. So yeah, and in general, the app itself is complex. It has a lot of like not that usual elements that you might see in many applications. So it was quite challenging to just go through everything and fix all those additional issues that appeared. Does that answer the question?
I believe it does. Yes.
Okay.
I think it's the good perspective from your side also to know how those issues are being addressed. Okay, I think we covered most of the topics that we had regarding challenges. So now we will be moving to our last section, which is the lessons learned and future recommendations. Of course, I believe many people are here today to hear about this, of course, of the overall process of migration, but also some takeaways to apply to their own projects, their own businesses. So this is what kind of what we will be covering now. So again, this will be for both of you, Mateusz and Harald. Maybe we can start now with you, Mateusz. And the question is, what practical advice would you offer to other organizations that are embarking on a similar Vue 3 migration journey?
Well, to be honest, one of the best advice that I can give is that just start doing it. It's a good point right now. While Vue 3 ecosystem is still developing itself, the most important libraries are there, and there is support for Vue 3. So it's just a good point to be in and start that actual migration to the Vue 3 to the newer tools to be prepared for future enhancements for your stack. And yeah, I think that would be one of the best practical advices. And what is also important are those tests. So keep your application tested, I believe. And everyone needs to be sure that business functionalities are there still while you are working. So you should be able to test it and get some feedback on that if it's still working as intended. Yeah, and that's, in my opinion, one of the best advices.
Thank you very much, Mateusz. And from the business point of view, what would be some takeaways from you, Harald?
Well, I'm at least happy that we are not completely, let's say, forced to do things at this point. We are at the very last phase of testing right now. So I think we have one issue left before we roll out. So we are testing on stage environment. Or verifying on stage environment. So that's basically all we have left. And I think if we had to roll out today, then it would have been a little annoying. But I'm just happy we've had a lot of time to do it proper. Otherwise, it would have been rushed, and I think it would have been a little tough because there are a lot of unknowns still. We did a good job in assessing the duration of this project, but there are still unknowns. So and we know that it's like this in all projects. Even when we are with our clients as well, there are still unknowns. So we had enough time, and we did not have a backstop that was sort of forcing us to do things. That's sort of the biggest takeaway. And then, of course, all the testing that we have done is just very, very, very nice, pushing the software to the limit in all the directions that are possible, and also not necessarily from a user perspective logical. It's very important to do those things.
Thank you very much, Harald. Yeah, I totally agree with the statement that if you can start doing it already start doing it now from my perspective as project manager. The least rushed the process is, the better we will go. So yeah, this is one big takeaway from all this. Okay, I think we covered all our sections that we had prepared, and now we have a couple of questions in our chat. So I believe we can jump right into them. We can start with the first one from Alexandra Barecka. So Alexandra asks about how complex is the app and how much time did it take to migrate to Vue 3? So probably more on the technical side. Mateusz, would you be able to answer this one?
So maybe a good answer, how complex is this application? I could tell that there is a view that needs to like visualize about 72,000 of nodes sometimes when it's a bigger data sets. So it's quite complex. There are a lot of different aspects to that application. There's also some sort of drag and drop features that are not that like popular, because it also draws SVGs. So yeah, there are a lot of fun features, and in general the app is complex. Also the API itself, since it's based on JSON API, it's the whole structure of it. It's just add some additional complexity, while it's add like some rules and guidelines on how to build actual objects. It's also adds some additional complexity to it, right? So yeah, regarding how much time did it took to migrate to V3, we are still on it, to be honest. But like it was already mentioned by Harald, we are at the very end of that to prepare to roll the application. So as I started it, it was like May, I believe. So yeah.
Yeah, I can support you here. We started creating the task descriptions in May, and I believe in June is when we actually started. And it's also important to mention that we didn't stop other development, as it was mentioned earlier. So while we were migrating from Vue 2 to Vue 3, we were also taking care of other areas of the application, both in backend and front end. So it's not that we were dedicated exclusively to the migration. Okay, I hope that answers your question, Alexandra. Let's jump into the next one. I believe this is also a technical one. So you mentioned using the Vue compatibility build as a first step of the migration. How did you manage to use it with Vuetify? So Mateusz, perhaps you can jump here.
Yeah, in general, it was handled before I joined the project, but the actual compat build is like probably we know is not compatible with Vuetify. It was used to just figure out all the errors when it comes to Vue 2 Vue 3 migration. But how and the actual internals, I'm not aware, because like I mentioned, it was done before I joined.
Thank you very much, Mateusz. And moving on to the next one, I think it will be also to you, Mateusz. So we mentioned mocking the Vuetify components during the migration. How did we mock those? The migration basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there's an option for us that was also created before I joined, but there was an option where we could just turn off special like family of components to just move forward and focus on the single one. And the mock was just a blank space on the page that did not error because it was mocked. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Mateusz. Okay, I don't see any more questions, so let's have a minute or two. Yes, for you guys, if you want to add anything else, and for you, Harald, Mateusz, I'm not sure if you have any additional comments that were not covered, perhaps, and you want to mention at this point.
I have something I would like to add. As the client, what is interesting to me is not necessarily always how long time things took. It's also sort of how many hours or man hours did it take. And I think at this point it's been about 3 months of man hours to do the migration, roughly. It could be less, it could be a little more. I think that is sort of where we are, and we are basically at the end. Maybe 1 or 2 days more, then we'll be finished. We suspect. So that is at least a question that I had for the last meeting some months ago, or the last presentation of Vue 3. So I guess that's what I wanted to add.
Okay, thank you. And we have another couple of questions, so let's move on with those. We have a question from Andrzej Walczak. Were there any particularly annoying dependencies, libraries that weren't eagerly compatible with Vue 3? And or fight if we use that?
Mm-hmm. No, at least as far as I know, we were just able to use what was already prepared and migrated by the maintainers of the apps. So I'm not aware if there was any like dependency that didn't work in Vue 3 environment right away. So no, this aspect was rather smooth.
Thank you, Mateusz. And I can see a comment rather than a question. Correct me if I'm wrong. I can see that Artur Rosa is here mentioning that Verinis Borgon wrote a custom logic, the byte plugin that was just mentioned in the previous question. The compact will work because all the Vuetify components were mocked. So thank you, Artur, for the input regarding that topic. Okay, I don't see any more questions, but let's give the audience another minute, just in case there are some shy ones. Any other remarks, Harald, Mateusz, that you would like to mention now?
I mean, maybe to just add something to that last answer and the advices for your future update to V3. I think we are in a good spot right now in actual Vue ecosystem, where you are able to actually move and migrate with your code base to the V3 because of actual a lot of dependencies are already migrated also. So yeah, and it was not the case when the Vue 3 was announced and released. It was not the case at all. So yeah, that's a good thing to note.
Okay, thank you very much, Mateusz. I don't see any additional questions in the chat, so I think we can wrap up our session. So yeah, once again, thank you very much, Mateusz. Thank you very much, Harald, for this productive and session that we just had about the migration. I hope our audience is happy and can take some valuable takeaways for their particular cases. Yeah, so I think that's it. Thank you very much, everyone. Enjoy Tuesday and see you soon. Bye bye.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.